Oh, there she is. Hey, just got on. Just got on. Hold on. Oh, wow. All right, I'm going to turn it down a little bit so we can hear each other over the music. Cameron,
What's
thank
going
you.
on? Yeah.
Hi. Cameron, this is Sherry from
Hi.
NEO Insiders. Sherry, this is
Yeah.
Cameron.
Hi, nice
Justice.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
We actually, we go back a little bit. Cameron and I do. I don't know if you remember. It's been a long time.
For a long time, we just saw each other.
Yeah.
At
we
the-
started- well, no, it was me. It was Roosevelt. the photographer.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
worked with him like 20 years ago. And
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's this industry. Everybody knows everybody. It's such a small world.
Oh yeah. Were you at Channel 5 when Della Thacker was there? Producer?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Because I knew her for a long time. She left. She eventually got married and moved off to Indiana somewhere. She was really nice. Is Lynn Hyder still there?
Mm-mm.
No? Okay. Hey, thank you. We were just talking about stuff. Hey, and thank you guys so much for joining us. It is the Burning River Browns Talk. We are live on YouTube, X, Facebook with Fans First Sports Network. Thank you so much, Cameron, for joining us. May I call you Cammy? Is that okay?
Yeah. Cammy, Cameron. All works.
All right, Cammy.
You know, sometimes the coach calls me Jordan on accident. So
Really? That was awesome. Okay, just so you know, we ran into each other for the first time in like God knows how long. Last Saturday, my daughters were at the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse cheerleading, and she was there covering the story. And we started talking about wrestling. Well, a lot of it was about wrestling too, because people that watch the show. Okay, I'm a retired pro wrestler, longtime retired pro wrestler, and
I know nothing of this
I don't know if
sport.
you Googled me or not or anything. I almost sent you a bunch of stuff, but what's that, Sherry?
I said I know nothing of the sport.
Yeah, she knows absolutely nothing about wrestling. But when I do a Sunday show. We do talk wrestling on the Sunday Stew Pot with Corey Castle. He's from Philadelphia, and I could talk wrestling with him or talk wrestling with all because I just did a wrestling podcast Wednesday. We were talking about the WWE Hall of Fame, and it was just like I could just sit down. I could do it for hours. But if I talk wrestling with Sherry, her eyes glass over. But if I talk
Like one eye goes
football,
this way, one eye goes the other way.
and she knows Corey, she's good friends with my friend Corey. She knows Corey.
Yeah, Corey.
Corey, you can't talk football with Corey. His eyes just glass over. He's just like.
And then Corey and I both kind of look at him like.
It's just like it's kind of like that. Yeah. So I have that's the two words. What's that, Cam?
No, I said Corey and I look at you and say, "Can we please talk about cartoons?"
Yeah, cartoons or whatever. Yeah, but cool. But yeah, so anyway, this is the Burning River Browns Talk. Thank you for joining us. I am Lou Marconi at lmarconi251 on Instagram and at lmarconi1973. Cam, one real quick thing. I love the story you did, the recent one about the Browns team barber.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was it was on Instagram. I caught it on Instagram. Did you see it, Sherry?
I did. That was super
it was
cool.
really good. The kid was at North Ridgeville. Was that?
Yeah, he's in North Ridgeville. I wanted to do that story last season too. He's got such a great journey.
Yeah, he
started at famous hair of $20 pair of Walmart clippers, cutting hair on his front porch, getting a job at Famous Hair, doing wedding styles and dyeing hair, and then started doing design barber competitions and posting on Instagram. And he said the first person that kind of gave him the opportunity was Greedy Williams, which is a little name drop. Not that far back, but still a name drop.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Greedy had posted that he needed a barber quickly, and
Yeah,
And Trav was there, went, started cutting his hair, word of mouth. That's how barbers, that's how it works in the hair business. Word of mouth spreads faster than anything else. And so he quickly just kind of, hey, I know this guy. And the Browns started going to him. And so almost every player has gotten their hair cut by him, it's just crazy that how far he's gone. So I was like, it's a Brown story, but not a Brown story. And I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Maurice Hurst was in the story too. Mo
Yeah,
Hurst was there. He was getting his hair
Yeah,
cut.
Mo was getting his hair cut during the interview, and it was really fun.
Did he just happen to be there, or did you have somebody from the team make sure he was there?
So I think Trav knew that he was going to be there. We're like, let's have someone in the chair because it tells the story better.
Authentic.
But I don't know if you saw, it's an Easter egg. We didn't talk to him. In one of the shots, there's a little Easter egg in the chair behind him. Another Cleveland athlete getting his haircut at the same time, which was not planned. He plays for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Oh, okay.
Was it Donovan Mitchell?
It was not. Mm-mm.
Oh,
Okay,
no.
I'm trying to think who else could it have been. It wasn't Jared Allen. It wasn't Jared Allen. Okay, who was it? I couldn't.
Ever.
Max Strus. You can see him in the back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't see him. I didn't catch that.
Yeah, he was back getting his hair cut in the video. It's so fun. And then after he left, Sam Merrill came in and got his hair.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's great.
Cool. So it truly is the barbershop to the Cleveland athlete stars. That's what it is.
That was a great story.
Awesome.
It was really the cool story was he started out just buying a pair of Walmart shares and he built up a business through word of mouth and just hard work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what
crazy.
happens.
You love to see.
Absolutely.
And at least he's cutting the players' hair, not their dogs. Because I was gonna bust into that.
You're gonna dog grooming?
No. I just
listen. There's a market for it. They've all got dogs. They all
I have 2 hairy dogs, so I understand the need for.
I have a short hair dog, so I don't need that. I have a half German Shepherd, half Pit, so I'm fine.
I have a Shih Tzu and a standard poodle, also known. There's nothing standard about my poodle. He is large and in charge.
Ooh, yes.
So I mean, you got to learn a little bit when you have a dog that hairy, and I had to.
Yeah.
Trial by fire. But
go ahead.
I have to tell you tonight, Cam, I am behind enemy lines. I am in
that's right.
Pennsylvania. Right now, I am 2 miles from where the Steelers play. So I had to bring good juju with me. I had to bring
the elf candle.
The elf candle, you gotta burn it.
And I don't know if you've ever seen one of these before. Have you ever seen one of these?
Is that a voodoo doll?
It's called a Damn It doll.
Oh, I do know what that is. Yep.
Yeah, so I had to bring it because
I'm
into who isn't into voodoo, right? But
right.
Behind enemy lines and to fight off any Steelers fans that might rush in and try to disrupt what's going on here.
I tell you what, the funniest thing I saw was I watched Q and Kolb do a video talking about Justin Fields and Russell Wilson and how, like, do they know or understand history that when you're in quarterback purgatory, you don't know you're really in quarterback purgatory? It's like the way they were putting it together. I was like, yeah, well, what they're thinking, because I have a few neighbors that are Steeler fans, and I actually talked to them about it. Their thought process is that, well, we won 10 games with below average quarterback play. If we get average quarterback play, we're going to do a lot better. That's their thought process. But quarterback controversies are locker room poison. I've seen it. I go ahead. Go ahead. That's all I say.
Cleveland knows that very well.
Oh yes, very well. And we know what quarterback purgatory is. We could talk. We've seen that jersey. We've seen that jersey many times, starting from Tim Couch all the way down. And it's because they don't realize what they had when they had a Hall of Fame quarterback for all those years. Sooner or later, they're not going to be there anymore because eventually we all get old. So that's what happens. But I did want to talk to you. Well, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, because I was looking for this poll. Why I texted you before. I heard somewhere that was supposed to be announced about the Philadelphia Eagles in Brazil. But then I heard today from Tony Grossi on his podcast saying that they're going to announce it early next week. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was as early as yesterday. So the earliest we would have found out would have been yesterday. It's a holiday weekend, kind of, you might as well put it off. So could have found out yesterday, but there's still some some waiting to be done.
I heard the teams were notified, but they have to be
Keep it hush. Yes.
they have to kayfabe it, if you know what that means. Do you know what that means?
Wait, what'd you say?
Kayfabe? Do you know what that means? That's a
No.
wrestling term. Okay, it's a pro wrestling term for carny. It's be fake. It's basically when you kayfabe it, you keep the business secret. Everybody's supposed to believe it's real. You're supposed to be secretive. So it's pretty much keep it a secret. Is what
Keep it a secret. Keep it on the down low. I like it.
keep it
Yeah,
on the down.
it's
It's
good.
called kayfabe. Yeah, look it up. It's there. There's all kinds of.
I'm adding that to my vocabulary.
I believe you. I'm gonna forget it in 10 minutes.
It's okay. Well, we have a watch party planned with Corey to come on this show.
It's gonna be
Because
so
he's
much
in
fun.
Philadelphia. If the Eagles are playing the Browns in Brazil, and I would love to have that game happen. I think it's going to personally. I think it's like a 70% chance, in my opinion, just from what I'm hearing. So,
I mean, the Browns want to go. Like I think they are excited about the opportunity. You know, like the players, the organization. It's just a matter if they get it or not. But yeah, I mean, who doesn't want to take a trip to Brazil?
Right.
Would you get to go? Would the TV station send you?
I don't know. I would keep my fingers crossed, but I think that'd be hard. It'd be hard to go. That's a long trip. It's an expensive trip.
Yeah, airfare is not cheap, especially.
It is not.
And picking out your wardrobe. What do you bring? What don't see? There's a
listen,
lot
but I would be ready for Brazil. I would have just like it would warrant a new shopping trip. I would have some new pieces to the wardrobe.
Well,
I think it would be very fun.
On the east side, I got some places I could take you.
I would love it.
Now they're going to have 2 home preseason games this time, right? Because they had 1 last year, correct?
Yeah, and so they'll have the Vikings. So because last year they had the joint practices against Philly right before the game that was on the road. So they'll host this session of joint practices against the Vikings this year. So that's where it differentiates. Yeah,
they're still going.
And there's no Hall of Fame game, so it's kind of back to normal. Last year was a little out of the ordinary for them because when they host joint practices, the past couple times it's been in Berea. So that was threw them for a little loop, and now they're back in Berea, but they will start training camp at the Greenbrier.
Yes,
we do know that. So they're still getting some traveling. Yeah, I went last year when they were there. I was there for a couple days. It was interesting.
I was there for a company I worked for, just on a sales trip, and it was like, it's very nice. It is very impressive. Did you get a chance to see the bunker? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I do know what you're talking about. I didn't get to tour the bunker.
The bunker.
No, I wanted to. I didn't have enough time.
Bunker. They had a nuclear fallout bunker. It was top secret. Eisenhower had it built. I was going to play a round of golf there, but it was raining, so I took a tour of the bunker. And you go through, like, they had barracks and all this stuff set up for Congress. If there was a nuclear fallout, they were shipped from D.C. to go there. But by the early 90s, it was considered obsolete, so they opened it up for tours. It was really neat how they hid it in the hotel. Yeah. But yeah, the Greenbrier is something else, because I know the Saints have had their camps there, the Patriots, so it's nothing new. Back to it. So do you know if for sure if Channel 5 will be having the preseason home games on television, all of them?
That I am not sure. I think there's some things to work out, but as long as everything is smooth sailing, yep.
Okay.
Same as always, every year we have the preseason games, and we do all the pregame stuff, all the postgame stuff. It's always a good time.
I love it. One of my favorite sideline reporters is she used to be for the NFL Network, cover the AFC North. You know, Aditi Kikabwala.
I love Aditi.
Yeah, she is awesome. It was so funny. She was interviewing Myles Garrett, and she's like here, and Myles Garrett's like here. And it's just like they had to do a special. She's little. She's little. Myles Garrett's like 6'5". It's just like, God. And I'm like, and it just kind of reminded me. Do you remember the Longest Yard with Adam Sandler and Chris Rock? And like Chris Rock looked at Bob Sapp and said, "Don't eat me." That's what I was thinking. Just don't eat me. That's just what I was thinking about when I saw that. But
Myles Garrett makes anyone look small, and Aditi is already like, she's so tiny that it is just like, whoa.
You stood next to me, and I'm a bigger guy, but he would make me look small. And I'm a bigger guy. Yeah, I mean, I'm 200. I'm like 6 feet tall, 250 pounds.
So
but Myles Garrett
the day that that I really felt endeared with Myles Garrett is, do you remember when he did the puppy play date?
Yep.
Cam, do you remember?
Yep.
So I brought my poodle that I'm telling you. My poodle was just old enough to have his vaxes to be allowed to go in. And oh my God, poodles are very, very fast dogs. People don't realize how athletic these dogs are. Myles Garrett has Gohan. He's carrying him like a little baby. And I'm like, oh, this is so cute. And I'm walking with Miles' posse because my poodle took off. I was terrified somebody was going to accidentally let him out of, and I was walking, trying to keep up with them. And you could see on the local footage, you could see my poodle doing laps and me looking terrified that, oh no, this dog's going to get away from me. And I'm standing looking at Myles Garrett like, oh my, wow, he is a big, very large man. But that dog, if he gets away from me, there's no way I'm ever going to catch him. So there was so much going on that day that I was so overstimulated. Funny thing is, Moses, that's the poodle's name, almost tripped him. And I was like,
no, we don't need him tearing anything. No.
I was
He would have
like,
been in trouble.
and all of Cleveland would have hated this poodle puppy.
Yeah, your dog might have been canceled.
Moses would have been canceled. I'm like, I don't know that dog. Where did he come from? That's not I don't know that dog. Who is he?
There was one time with Aditi, going back to Aditi, she was on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. I know it's on a rival station. And she was doing a home cam thing. Like, this is my office. This is the only room in my house. You ask my wife that I'm allowed to put up my wrestling stuff because I got my trophies and belts and bodybuilding trophies and my posters and stuff. So, but she's in her living room and she's doing this interview with the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and you could see her kids running around in the background, and she had like this mom look, like, you just wait till I turn this camera off. Like, it was just, and they said they noticed that, and it was funny. But I mean, when they're 4 or 5, you're not gonna.
Oh no, you just got to go with the chaos. You just got to take it.
Mine are 8 and 6, and I will say this: there was a lot of chaos at that event where I got to see Cameron. I was very proud of my daughters because I'm going to tell this quick story. There's booths set up, okay, and it was for healthy kids with the YMCA, and my daughters do cheerleading at the YMCA, so that's why they were there. And there's one booth that was there was a pediatrician, was a doctor there, and she was from India, and she was a very sweet lady, but she had a heavy accent. On top of the accent, she had a lisp. We could not understand her at all. And my daughters were sweet. They were just, all they did was smile and nod. They didn't do something stupid. They didn't say anything dumb. Because she took their height, she took their weight, she gave them pamphlets, she told them how sweet they are. And there's like, but she talked like this. And I'm like, oh my God. And I couldn't understand her because there was a lot of white noise too, all around. So there's the noise. Yeah. It was just like, but they were nice. I was just like, oh, they're good kids. So I was just like, okay, good. But to switch gears a little bit, we're going to talk about with the owners meeting last week. Just all this stuff just started snowballing and breaking. The big story is the Browns are probably going to move to Brook Park. Cameron, you tell me, what do you think are the chances of that happening? That'd be 5 years from now if it does happen.
Yeah, I think the longer that it takes for them to get anything going in Cleveland is the higher the odds that they have to move. Because at this point, you're already kind of pushing up against when a typical contract would be agreed to for a stadium, either a new stadium downtown, a new location downtown, or if you're moving forward with that remodel and ignoring the dome, or if there is some way that there could be a dome put on it. Right now, it feels like, from what I've heard, that's not a possibility for how the stadium is structured. And honestly, if you're going to spend that much money, you're looking at close to the same amount of money as a new stadium anyway, which could result in a way more longevity for a stadium, because that was a hastily built stadium. They wanted to get it up. They wanted to get it done. And so you can see kind of the cracks in how it was put together so quickly. There's leaks, the electrical. So there's a lot that needs to be done with that. So if you get a new if you're going to spend that much money already to get what you want, which is an enclosed dome that you can use year round in Northeast Ohio and all the elements, you might as well build new, right? But in order to secure a location downtown, you have to come up with who's paying for what, how much taxpayer dollars are going into it, how much of city funding and city planning money is going into that, and how much, the ownership is going to pay. And if you're not getting a deal right now, every day that passes, because we're coming up, like it's a couple years away, right? But I would say by the end of, at least by at this time next year, that would be a very big indicator that nothing is really getting done in downtown. And then you would drum up that contract elsewhere. And Brook Park has a location. We've seen it. It's open. It's there. And I know one of the big concerns right now for people is well, what's there to do in Brook Park before or after a game? And the thing with that is when you build a stadium, the development around the stadium also usually comes, and it's kind of missed out in Cleveland on that lakefront. And the Haslams have talked about that, wanting to build that land bridge, wanting to develop the entire waterfront, because it's to really enhance the game day experience and just the overall general experience of being by the lake. So that is something that would be a priority if wherever they're at in downtown, if they were to move to Brook Park or another location, development would come. That is the ideal situation. And so right now, I think that it's not set in stone, obviously, because no papers have been drawn up, but every day that passes that a deal doesn't get done to come up with a plan for downtown Cleveland location, I think it pushes it even closer to moving out of the city, just because it doesn't feel like, if that's the top priority and it's not getting done, something has to give. And I think it would move to a different location in that case.
Right. And if they chose to renovate the current stadium, they would have to find somewhere else to play for 2 or 3 years. Wouldn't that be correct? So that's they'd have to go to Columbus and play at the Horseshoe, or even, I mean, I don't see them going to Canton at that because it's only 23,000 people.
It's very small.
It's small compared to
that's a challenge. It's certainly one of the challenges that they would face, because you have to think because if it was just pieces and parts here and there, the stadium just needs so much work relative to what their vision is right now, that it's not like what's happening at Progressive Field and the overhaul, which can take places in stages, and some of the stuff they'll do when they're on the road, and it's going to be a couple days work, and they can build around. They started in the off season. Now the Guardians are playing. They're not all the way done with it, but it's stages. I don't think that what their vision for Cleveland Brown Stadium can be done within an off season or just within an off season and with work being done in the season, because it's a weekly process, maybe 1 week off, 2 weeks off. You're rarely on the road for a long stretch, like in baseball or even basketball. So I do think that would make it a pretty big challenge for them. So I don't see how that might work. Realistically, without them having to move to another location while that was renovated. And that's why I think, a new stadium just screams like the ultimate idea for them. And you see it around the league. Other teams are opting into new stadiums, whether it's because they're in a new location, or like the Bills, or just, that they're building new, they're not renovating, because if you're going to spend that money to get the state-of-the-art stuff, to get the stadium the way that you want it, new is the way to go.
I know Chicago's doing the same thing, aren't they? Yeah, I'm thinking that too. Well, think about it too. You could the events you could host with an indoor stadium, which whether it's in Brook Park or somewhere else. Because I was here in the original location. What was his name? Jason Lloyd was saying that a lot. That it was the where the Top Golf is in Valley View. Or
in Independence,
Independence, yes, Independence. That area, I was hearing that for a while, but then now the whole story of Brook Park broke. They didn't officially buy that land, did they? The Haslams?
I think they agreed to terms with the land. So whether it's a stadium or not, and that's the thing with Haslam Sports Group, though, is that they could do whatever they want with that land.
Right.
So you secure it so you have it, and then whether a stadium goes there, or a headquarters, or a gas station, or anything else that you want to put there, you have the land, and it's better to have the land and not need it for one specific project to be able to utilize it in a different way than to have that land bought up. Because that was the problem in downtown right now, is there's certain plots of land. There was a location downtown that was being talked about. I don't know if the Haslams were even registering it, if they knew from the beginning that it wasn't a realistic thing, but from the blogs and people talking about potential locations downtown, there was a spot that would fit a stadium and would be in a good location downtown, but it sits on government property. It sits on places that just got contracts. They just signed to contracts. So to buy out a company that just signed a contract on that location and then to try to get government owned property, it's not
going to move quick.
No
it's
way.
not a thing. That's not going to be a thing. And so that eliminates so many different positions. So that's, I think, where they've struggled.
Is that Orange Avenue where the post office is? Is that the area you're talking about? Oh, whoa, where'd you go? You there, Cam?
Hey, at least it wasn't me. I thought it was like maybe it's haunted Pittsburgh Wi-Fi.
Did you lose me? We're here?
Oh,
there we go.
Pittsburgh
Did you hear?
Wi-Fi.
I asked if that was by the post office on Orange Avenue. Is that the area?
But it's an FBI building, I think.
Oh, okay. I know what you're
Oh
talking
yeah,
about.
like where Social Security is and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like some of the conversations from the blogs. Like they were saying, like, oh, this could be it's got the square footage, it's got the area, but realistically, it's not possible to secure that.
Well, downtown will be difficult as it is because I think what the Haslam's vision is a whole experience with restaurants, shops, hotels, this whole big complex. Because I visited Foxborough once, where the Patriots play, and I'm sure you've been there.
I have not actually. No.
Oh wow, you should see it. The way they have it set up. It's Patriot Way. It's like all these restaurants and shops. Everything's walking distance from the hotel. No, I was there. I was there. I was there on a business trip. But no, there was also a poll. Did you hear about this? That 70% of the people polled in the Cleveland area are for the dome.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
Yeah,
I believe it. I mean, because I mean, look at where you're at, right? So if you're going to build a dome, a stadium with a dome on it, it opens the door for more concerts. Cleveland missed out on a wave of really big concerts. Me, a Swiftie, obviously upset that Taylor Swift skipped over Cleveland. Beyonce, she just dropped her album today also. She skipped over Cleveland. Cleveland got Drake, which was big with those were the big three this year. And Drake at first was not in Cleveland. He added the 2 dates on, but Cleveland was getting skipped over on these big name tours, and they're not coming to Cleveland. And so you have to think, like, does that open the door for these bigger name artists to, although maybe like the taxes are higher in this city, like this venue is going to definitely bring a crowd. You're going to have a great time. The experience is going to be smooth. Your audio is going to sound great because it's all brand new. So you open the door for more entertainment. You open that entertainment up all year round. I personally am in the camp of a retractable dome. Like I don't want to fully close. I like the weather. Yeah. But then you have a concert coming in, looks like snow, looks like rain. All right, let's close that roof. And if it's nice, let's open it up. That's great. And so I think that it allows you to have that entertainment year round. It allows you to have more events. It allows you to have the big events that you haven't been able to get, like, I don't know, a Super Bowl.
And WrestleMania.
And these are the things that if you have situations like you can make it bigger, you can blow it up, and you can do it all year round. And right now that the stadium it's used for some things, but I remember, like, I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago, was the first time that they really utilized it in the winter with the hockey games that they had at the stadium.
Winter Classic-y kind of stuff.
Yeah, they had the Winter Classic, Ohio State, and then they had the Monsters played outdoors, and it was really cool. But again, Cleveland and Northeast Ohio weather doesn't make any sense. And so, like, of course, on those days, the sun decided to come out in the middle of winter and be warm, and then the ice was melting, and it was like, you can't even have nice things when it's cold.
It can't be cold when we want it to be cold, right?
Never. And so that's what you miss out on when you don't have the ability to have a dome and to have that enclosed space entertainment hub.
Well, it sits. Go ahead, Sherry.
What do you think it would do? I just want your opinion about the tailgate culture, like. How do you feel?
Culture.
Right, because that's such a huge thing here in Cleveland. Like, I mean, I never tailgated. I mean, like
it would continue. You can't. It's the Muni lot is a great spot, right? It is. It's iconic. It's the Muni lot, but I mean, you go anywhere downtown in any parking lot, and you've got the same energy. When I was going down there before covering stuff, I was a pit girl. I was never at the Muni lot. I was at the pit, right.
Yeah.
And so it's
Yeah.
the same kind of energy. It doesn't matter what parking lot, like Browns fans are going to show up and they're going to
Right.
party. And so I think of the one stadium I think of is in Arizona, the Cardinal Stadium.
Okay.
They have a designated built-in turf area for tailgating. The parking lots are
Wow.
surrounding it, but they have this tailgating spot. Now, is it as like gritty and Cleveland as the Muni lot? No. It's
No.
kind of clean, but it's
Mhm.
kind of nice. It's a little more
Right.
bougie, a little more bougie. It doesn't have that grit and the soul that Muni lot has.
Right.
But Cleveland would bring that anywhere. So I think that if like no matter wherever you put the stadium
Mhm.
in Northeast Ohio, you put a parking lot nearby, you open
They'll
it
show
up,
up.
and
Roll
people are
out
going to
the
show
porta
up with the
potties.
cornhole boards, with the beer, with the
Porta potties.
buses.
Yes.
That's all.
And the
You know
and
what?
the
And maybe
hibachi's growing and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
exactly. And you know what?
Yeah.
When you're building new, maybe you put in the budget a nice little, I don't know, little modular bathroom, so you don't have to
Right.
go porta potties. You
Yes.
step it up. Maybe
Yes.
that's where you step up.
Okay. You guys use porta potties. I go where I can. So I just,
Yeah. Brag.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
But it's nice. I have
Brag.
outdoor plumbing. Okay. Well, this conversation went sideways quick. Okay. Because talking about the pool, but honestly, it doesn't make sense to have an outdoor football only stadium sitting downtown empty like 340 350 days out of the year. There's that's prime real estate. I think the city will find another use for it to make money. I think they will. I honestly, that's what I was going to ask you about. Mayor Bibb did a state of the city address recently.
Yes, he did.
He didn't sound like it was much of a priority to me. What did you take
It
of
did
that?
not.
I think that right now, I mean, obviously both sides are in some kind of negotiations. How deep, I don't know. Like, I mean, like how back and forth, I'm not in the room, so I don't know that far, but they're obviously are having conversations and negotiations
Yeah.
for financials, for longevity, contract terms, what it would look like, and trying to come up with an agreement. And so some of the things that have been going back and forth, whether it's oh, we bought a plot of land, or, oh, we've got other things. I think these are maybe negotiating tactics. And even if they are not intentionally negotiating tactics, I think they can be used as such. And so all of this right now, I think the way that things are delivered, the way that things are said, all kind of play into the decision making and one side trying to push this way and that way, because that's where they are right now. They are in the heat of, okay, we don't have an agreement. We've got to come up with an agreement. And so I think you're going to see some sway, some things that might feel one way or another, because it's at the end of the day, this is a contract like any other. This is like an agent negotiating for his client in football. And so you'll get the reports, the back and forth, just to spark some interest. Maybe these things happen. That's part of negotiating. So for me, I don't put a lot of stock into some of the early reports or some moves that are being made until it's a little bit more concrete, because at the end of the day, any of this could be part of negotiating, or just some tactics or anything like that. And so I'm watching, I'm listening, but as for like the intricacy stuff, it's so hard to like read into things like that, because it could mean nothing, it could mean a lot. There's just no real way to know, because we don't know at what stage these conversations are in it. And until you know that, unless you know that, it's hard to try to pinpoint how things should be perceived, because it's just too tough.
Well, that's true. And I think when it's a deadline, when there's a hard deadline, that's usually when things get done. What do you think the deadline might be? When are fans going to find out? When are we going to hear? What do you think?
Well, I mean, if they do it quickly, if this is something that they just talks come together and they come up with a plan for downtown Cleveland, it could be any time between now and, like I said, I think at this time next year would be where I would assume that something had come out, whether it is
12 months, you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whether it's downtown, we know that earlier because they've come to an agreement, or I think if it's moving, it would be a little bit later. Obviously, the later we find out, the more chances it is moving out of downtown, I think. And so, anytime between now and then, I mean, it could come out that it's Cleveland and they've come up with a contract and they're going renovation, or they found a location downtown and they're going to build new. There's so many different options, but I do think that because you've got to build it, and you don't want it to be hastily built like this stadium was. You need to give it time, and with the contract that you need several years. You just do. You need more.
You need at least 3. You need at least 3
exactly.
years. So
you can't put it together in a year. So I think that would give it a window to make that decision and build before the contract in Cleveland was up.
And the lease with the city expires at the end of the 2028 season. Is that correct? That's correct. Okay.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, great. Hey, Sherry, did you have anything else about the stadium? Because I was going to ask about the off season so far and what she thinks.
Architecture. I don't remember where I saw it, but were they going to consult the same firm that did the Viking Stadium? Like I don't know if I have, because that stadium is so beautiful.
I heard they visited that stadium when they were there a few years ago, and they loved it. They loved it. The Haslam family,
everything about
Jimmy and Dee
it
Haslam, yeah,
so beautiful. And of course, I mean, Kevin Stefanski, knowing what
knows
he
it
knows
well,
about, right? So like maybe he was whispered, like, hey.
You have so many good stadiums that you could go in and you could look as, some inspiration to what you're looking for.
It looks like a Roomba.
I love Vegas. I love Vegas. It is a Roomba, but it's so artsy. It's just so Vegas. It's like out there.
That's where
postmodern architecture.
Yeah.
That was last season's Super Bowl was in Vegas, wasn't it? Yes.
So good. Yeah. Oh man, that, and then you know what? I think draw some inspiration from SoFi, because even though they don't have a giant fan base out there, that stadium is gorgeous. Oh, the exterior, the interior, it's so cool. And that is the most modern. It looks like a spaceship.
Yeah.
Give me a spaceship in Northeast Ohio. I want a super modern.
That will bring just architecture people like myself, because I'm an art nerd.
Yeah.
Big art nerd. So like, I travel to go to Falling Water. I travel to go to see. I was in Paris. I saw, Pei's Pyramid. We have the Pei Pyramid, but why not get a little more architecture?
I think if one thing is for sure, I think that look at Cleveland. I mean, I'm really like Cleveland has some beautiful architecture.
Yes.
I think that will be very important, and I think it'll, whether it's renovation or building new, I think it'll look really nice. I think it would be too difficult, but look at the renovations to like Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, that glass wall side, the interior, they have done such a good job. I'm excited to see Progressive Field once it's all the way done. I think they do a really, really good job here in Cleveland, from the arenas to just the buildings. I think the architecture is something that it feels very Clevelandy. It's very unique to this place, and it's very important.
Thoughtful.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think that would be, I think they would want a design for good PR to emulate the Northeast Ohio and Cleveland area. So they're not necessarily a spaceship, but you get what I'm saying, that they kind of get
iconic. They want iconic that'll blend to mesh.
That'll blend in. Right.
I mean, you think about the arcade, you think about, there's so much iconic architecture here. Well, not
beautiful.
There, here, wherever I am.
It looked like the West Side Market. There you go.
Exactly. Thank you. That's where I am.
That'd be great. Okay, just switching gears a little bit. I don't want to keep you too long, Cami. I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been great. I'm just going to ask you this question, because I get this sense from the national media, if the Browns do something, it's just bad. Versus if it's the Denver Broncos, they traded Jerry Jeudy for a first-round pick for nothing, and they cut Russell Wilson's going to take an $85 million cap hit the next 2 years, but that's okay. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
I do.
Is it me, or is this because I'm seeing grades for the offseason as C-, and I'm like, we're running back a roster essentially that I was telling Sherry before we got, I said, just think about this. We beat the San Francisco 49ers, and I was at the game. I'm a season ticket holder, with PJ Walker at quarterback. We beat the Baltimore Ravens at home. We beat the number 1 seed in the AFC and the number 1 seed in the NFC. And we're essentially running back the same team, possibly getting Nick Chubb back at 70% and hopefully 100% Deshaun Watson. But is it me being a homer, or what do you think it is? I mean, what do you think is going on here?
I think that when you get like the run-of-the-mill kind of middle of the pack grading from like national, I think it is really just because Like the Browns haven't made any splashy moves. There's been a lot of splash moves this offseason, particularly with the quarterbacks moving, wide
Pittsburgh.
receiver. Like free agency has been crazy this offseason. I mean, I'm gonna have to go back and like keep notes of like, okay, wait, he's here now. He's here. Do one of those like crazy, like stalking around with the strings attaching with all the movements because it's been so crazy. It really has. But I think the Browns haven't like made any of those really big splash moves. For Cleveland, when you look at it, like when you're here, you're in the mix, you're watching this team, this is the team that you're following. A lot of it does seem like splash moves. Jerry Jeudy seems like a splash move because it's something that's been talked about for a year and the Browns have been pursuing for even longer. And they finally got it done. It seems like a really no-brainer deal with what they gave up for him, wanting him so badly. And so, but on the outside, Jerry Jeudy has been in conversations with national media. He's been dealing with it. He's been tweeting about it too. About
that
just
doesn't
being
help.
no, it
doesn't help.
It's his social, so he can do what he wants, and he can defend himself and defend his game in any way that he would like. But it is that is a conversation that's been had for a while with him. Is can he live up to the draft pick that he was taken? And so far, for people looking at it, he has not. And so this is I think a really nice like refresh moment where he can get right and see if he can boost there with a new team, a new organization, new system. Like great. But I think that it wasn't super splashy because he wasn't super splashy aside from the controversial comments about like to him and then from him. But like on the field, not splashy. Not a guy that's like, oh, he's an actual star right now. And so with that being the biggest talked about news, that to me is like right middle of the pack. It's not that big flashy play. It's not a low play. It's just right in the middle. So a C grade makes sense for I don't know how I want to say it, just the excitement about it. Now, here in Cleveland, people are excited about it because anytime you get a new player in Cleveland, anytime the Browns make a move, Browns fans are very excited about it.
We always are.
We're excitable. We are a type.
And that's why we love it a lot. It's very great. But I think that is where that double-sided coin. It's like one side is like, oh, it's just okay because they're going based off of everything else around the league, whereas Cleveland is looking at the big, like the smaller picture, just Cleveland and what they have, what they're doing, what they did last year, and not looking outside, not looking at other teams and what they're doing, just looking at Cleveland. I think these moves have been really good for what they needed and what they have been looking for, and they've made sense to me. There's nothing that's been like, hate that.
Yeah.
So, I think it all makes a lot of sense. But when you're looking at it compared to like the 31 other teams, are they doing the big splashy moves? Are they signing a bunch of guys for a lot of money? No, because they don't need to. They didn't need to. They haven't needed to.
They have a very good roster to begin with, and they just pretty much maintained it is what they did. They didn't sign Derrick Henry like Baltimore did. They didn't sign. I mean, Cincinnati made some moves too. I'm trying to think, or Pittsburgh made the moves with the quarterback room that they made. We talked about that earlier. I think the whole division improved this offseason. And just to keep in mind, I was explaining this. I did an interview with Jack Duffin not too long ago, and I'm actually going to talk to him again this weekend. It's going to air on Monday. Was the one team that won the division had their starting quarterback all year, and that was Baltimore. And there's that. I think that's what's going to happen for the Cleveland Browns if they can contend for the division or win the division, is having Deshaun Watson healthy all year. That's really what it's going to come down to. I think he can do it. We were 4-1 with him, and the point differential was like 63 points. And if you want to count the Indianapolis game, which I don't, because he shouldn't have been out there. It was obvious after he threw his first 5 passes. There's only 5 passes. He shouldn't have been playing. They pulled him, which was a smart thing to do. Didn't he throw 2 interceptions in that game too, in the 5 passes? You're nodding. Yeah. So his completion percent. I don't even think he completed a pass in that Indianapolis game. Did he?
No. Maybe none or one.
None or one. So, I mean, that right there, I mean, he only played in 6 games. So he started, the only bad game he had was in Pittsburgh. And I think just being an observation, looking back, that was a team that the whole team was rattled in that game after Nick Chubb got hurt. That rattled everybody. So
I was rattled.
I was like, I was sick to my stomach when it happened because just looking at it, just like, oh my god, and
Yeah,
and
the entire stadium was just hushed.
Yeah.
yeah,
It was
and I'll give Pittsburgh fans some credit. They actually showed some class on that. They did,
Right.
and I would rarely say that. I would say that they actually did. I mean, and this is what I did when we had DTR and we beat the Steelers. Okay,
Right.
we had DTR and we beat the Steelers. I was at that game because I was at every home game, and there were Steeler fans trash talking the whole game. $230 million for a quarterback, but we didn't need him today. $230 million for a quarterback. And after the game was over, he just was like, you could just tell he was just dejected. I just shook his hand and said, "Have a good night," and I walked away. That's all I did. That was the best, most satisfying thing I could have ever done because just show some class. Hey, have a good night. Thanks. Like
sometimes
act
it's
like
all. Yeah, it's like the kill 'em with kindness kind of thing.
yep,
It's
yep,
like
Oh,
that's
that's
what I
sometimes
what
do.
we
it's just
do
like,
in our section,
What's that?
right? That's what we do in our section, Lou. I mean, we're like section neighbors. We
Yeah,
have to kill
I'm
them with
way up there.
kindness. I'm
Yeah,
a little bit
I
more down low, but I'm like,
well, right. So
well, you know what I mean. We're neighbors.
yeah. Going back to that, the Nick Chubb. There's a lot of buzz about his and where he's at in his rehab, but I'm hearing a lot more. I just saw another report today. I don't know how accurate it is that Deshaun's actually ahead of schedule. What do you
Mm,
know? Just kind of give fans that are watching here an idea of where's Deshaun, where's Nick. I heard Nick was going to start running and load running,
mhm.
which his second surgery was in November. That's miraculous to be this far along already. That's a serious. So go
Nick
ahead, tell
Chubb
me.
is a different beast. I mean, he
Yes, he
just
is.
is. I mean,
seriously.
everything he does intentionally. He works incredibly hard. And you see it on the football field, but that is reflected too in this rehab process. Like there was never a doubt that Nick Chubb would not go into this giving 150% because that is all he knows how to do, I think. And so for him, and you saw how well he progressed. The fact that he was able to go out there, walk up those stairs, and smash that
Right. That was
guitar so
huge.
soon.
Oh my, that was so
I'm telling
huge.
you.
That was
Heart
6 weeks
heavy. Oh my
after his
God.
surgery.
That was,
Mhm.
I was like, he's walking. My wife was with
I
me. You
know.
remember that? Yeah, that's well. I got
Yeah.
Sherry and I
Yeah.
saw each other. We met at Tower City after riding the rapid, and
It's a
my wife
rendezvous
came.
point.
That was our rendezvous point. My wife came to that game, the Thursday night game, which we had. That was the best halftime show I ever saw. Was that Thursday night game, and we were there. And it just when Nick Chubb came out, just the energy, the place went crazy. Like when he was
It
in his
sure
crutches for
did.
this. Yeah, the crutches he was in for the Steelers game too, when
Yep.
he came out and they introduced him, and
I
the
think
crowd,
I
and
said I
then
dropped my phone like 5 times because I went live and then I dropped it and I went live and then I dropped it. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Nick Chubb, everybody. You guys,
it's
Nick
great.
Chubb, look, look, look.
Yeah,
And
but it's like
everyone saw that progression. Like you saw what he was able to do then. And
Right.
so, and I don't know that you can't really, and Andrew Barry said it, you can't put a timeline on like his return because you don't want to rush it. This isn't just a little tear. This was a major surgery and it was the
yeah,
second of the same kind. And so it's you want to be safe, not just for him coming back, but just for his general well-being and
yeah,
his future. You don't want that knee to have any kind of long-term side effect because you rushed it too soon. And
he's a
so
human being. He's a human
I
being.
think
Yes.
yes, and that's at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. But him being Nick Chubb, I think that he takes larger steps than most in his
He's,
position
He's
would,
he's an athletic
like,
anomaly. Let's call
and
it
he's
that.
fighting.
it's
He's gonna try to do everything to get on that field as soon as possible. He will need to be ready, but he will be ready, I think, quicker than
I th-
anyone else would have.
I'm putting up a week 5 prediction. I think he'll be starting to play by week. You think that's safe?
Knowing Nick Chubb, I don't think anything's out of the question. It would not surprise me. I have no timeline. I think obviously I don't think it's going to be week one.
No,
Um,
no, I wouldn't say that.
but
I
I
wouldn't say that.
but I at any point, like if you told me week 5, if you told me right now that it was going to be, week 14, and you're like, okay, that's a long time. And then he like somehow started playing in week 5, I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be like, well, that's Nick Chubb. There it is. So,
Yeah.
so
You
like,
see,
right now, I have
I mean,
no idea a timetable. Sorry, go
like
ahead.
I know a few labs. I know a few labs that grow parts. I know a few labs. I've been in a
she's
few
the very
labs.
sciencey girl. I forgot
I've
to
been
tell
in a
you that.
few labs that have grown parts, and I'm not making any special parts for Nick Chubb. That being said, listen to your doctors. Don't
Yes.
rush the rehab. And maybe he got a superhuman cadaver part that we don't know about.
A bionic
No,
knee.
a bionic knee. Well, he
No,
had the same knee injury in Georgia, didn't he?
yeah.
In his
Yeah, it was worse in
sophomore-
Georgia. So there wasn't as many ligaments that were torn this time. I mean, still had to have surgery on the MCL and ACL. There was more damage done in Georgia. So that was the silver lining was the ACL. And it wasn't even sure, they weren't even sure right away that it was a major tear in the ACL. We don't know if it's a tear. So that was a silver lining, is that it wasn't automatically, it wasn't torn badly enough that it was very clear. They went in, and in that surgery determined that they needed to do another surgery on the ACL. They were just repairing the MCL. And so that was a silver lining. So it wasn't as bad as the one in Georgia, which is good. It's good anytime it's not as serious as initial indicators might think, or even just assumptions when you're looking at that. It seems so similar to that one in Georgia that you were like, that could be everything. That could be every part of that knee. And it wasn't. So they're like, that's the silver lining. But
he dislocated it. It looked like it completely dislocated.
It was scary. It was gruesome, and it was really. In anytime you see a player go through something like that, it's bad. But when you see a player like Nick Chubb who works so hard, I think that's what made it tougher. It was like he never gets hurt. Like he's not a guy that deals with injury, and And so to see that happen and so gruesome and like such a big injury, it took the air out of the room. But yeah, I think that he's on a good track. And Deshaun Watson
that's my next question.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Was there any concern about him for week one? Because Steve Heimer commented, is there any concern about Deshaun be ready by week one? Go right ahead.
Not right now. Everything looks like trending in the right direction. And they've said that for a while, that he's been progressing really well and on track. And they have no concern for him. They said he's going to be ready week one. And I truly believe, I mean, there's nothing that's happened. He's throwing. So that's really good. That was expected to start this week. It's happened. So he's been throwing, which is really promising. And so I think he's good to go week one, barring any setback, obviously. But with the track that he's taken and the progress that he's made, there's no concern right now that he would not be ready. He'll be ready. He should be ready for the start of training camp. He should be ready for some off-season workout, maybe a little bit here and there, not the full go. I would assume early in the spring. Those workouts probably not going to be giving it 100% go. But if he's throwing now, he very well could be doing a good load of work for himself, at least individually, come spring and in these off-season workouts. So I think he's on a really good path, and no concern right now. So just as long as he keeps on the path that he's on now and is staying healthy, should be good to go.
Yeah, I think he just needs to learn to slide and get out of bounds. That's really, I mean, honestly, he was taking these hits. I was at the Tennessee game. Well, the Arizona game, that was his coming back, and he threw that one deep ball to Amari Cooper, and it was the most beautiful pass I think I've ever seen in my entire life. And we just looked at each other. We're like, my friend Harvey goes to the games with me, and we're just like, wow, did you see that? Honestly, and it really, I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be, because it's a bone injury. Bone heals differently than a ligament, ligaments can be funny. Tendons can be funny. So I think you'll be fine.
Funny bones can be funny.
Yes, they can be. Yes, they can be, Sherry.
Yes.
Okay. I think early next week we'll know if the Browns are playing in Brazil. I think the stadium, about 70% chance they're going to be playing in Brazil, and I think a 75% chance there's going to be a new dome stadium in Brook Park. I just think it's going to happen. It's leaning that way. I think the division's going to be a dogfight, regardless. It is the toughest division in football. I actually did an article not too long ago talking about the records of other teams against the AFC North, and it was just like San Francisco only won one game against the AFC North. And that was the opener against Pittsburgh that they blew out. They lost to the Browns. They lost to the Ravens. They got blown out at home by the Ravens, if I recall correctly. And they lost to Cincinnati too. Did they have Joe Burrow in that game? Did the Bengals have Burrow playing in that game against San Francisco, or was it with Jake Browning?
I think it was Browning. I think that was Browning.
You might be right. They didn't even have Joe Burrow in that game. Yeah, if you want to, I could check too. But
time is not real. It's been so long; it feels like 3 years ago.
It's just like, oh yeah. So I'm just saying, like, this is such a competitive division. If you come out of this, whoever wins the division this year in 2024 will be the number 1 seed. That's a bold prediction I'm going to make.
It's the toughest. I mean, it is. It's a very tough division, and that's the thing is, I think there's for a lot of it was okay. The AFC North was whoever comes out was just you go up against. We'll say like right now, if it's happening right now, he's like, oh, the AFC is going against the Chiefs or going against the Bills, and they're gonna win. And the AFC, but now it's like, okay, you've got to go through. It feels like you have to go through the AFC North, and and the Chiefs obviously are right there in the mix of going through them. But I mean, even last season with the Browns and all the injuries, and even though we saw how they looked in that playoff game, there were plenty of parts in the season and even heading into the offseason before that playoff game, their teams did not want to face the Browns. And it wasn't because their offense was very strong. Obviously, they were going through the quarterback situation and they were really trying to figure out their offense. But the defense was nobody wanted to play that Browns defense. And so I think that's kind of the perception now with the AFC North. It's like, oh, you have to play them. Like, oh, I have to play them.
Yeah.
Let's hope that they don't. Let's hope they lay an egg on us, because otherwise it's going to be tough. It's going to be gritty. We're going to have to really duke this one out.
And if you remember in that playoff game, okay, we were driving. We got a stop to start the third quarter. We were driving, pick six, back-to-back pick sixes, and next we're down by 21 points.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened.
Yeah, the score didn't reflect how close it was, and but to be also to be fair, it shouldn't have been that close. You know, the Browns should have. You got to come out trying. This is the playoffs. It's the playoffs. Like, but yeah, the box score doesn't reflect how that game went, and it was that series, that back-to-back pick six was just like the nail in the coffin. That was it. There was no coming back from that.
Yeah, we knew it was over at that point. Yeah. Well, plus, and that's what Flacco was. I mean, Flacco was either when he was hot, but he had the propensity to make those turnovers. I was at the Chicago game. Basically, he gave up 2 pick sixes, and we beat him with a last-second field goal. That's how good that defense was against Justin Fields that day. I remember getting off the Rapid, and I was talking to other Browns fans, and I actually said this. I said, how in the hell did we win that game? Because we shouldn't have. No, and the Bears fans were just completely dejected when they left that game.
Oh, you had to be. That game was instant. The ending was ooh. So
yeah, with the dropped Hail Mary and everything. Yeah, it happened. People were like, "Were you really holding your breath at that?" And I said, "It happened so fast live, you didn't even think about it. It just did. Oh, okay, dropped it. That's all it was. That's really what happened." But yeah, because where I sit, I'm in 503, and I'm like 5 rows from the top, so I'm covered. So I love it, and I could see the whole field. I really like it up there. It's a little bit of a trek, but I'm in pretty good shape. So you're a little bit farther down, Sherry. She's in 505, but
I'm in 505 row 10.
Yeah,
so
yeah. I like to do this, and I don't like to play the scheduling game because I remember Adam Rank. Do you ever heard of Adam Rank? The guy.
No. Yeah. David Njoku introduced us all to him. If you hadn't have heard of him before.
Did you know he went on a friend of ours podcast, Bougie Sports? Are you familiar with Bougie Sports? Mm-hmm. Yes, he was on Yvette's podcast, and I give him credit. But Yvette was a lot nicer than I would have been, because I would have called him Nostradamus. That's what I would have called him. I would have said, wait a second. Playing the scheduling game in May is ridiculous. It's stupid. These games are 7 months away. There's no way you can predict it. There's no way. He was just saying it's a loss because it's the Browns. It's a loss because it's the Browns, which, to be fair, for 20 years, up until 2020, this team was a joke.
Yeah, and you could get away with that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you can't. Well, I just said this. Okay, let's just look at this. They're playing you got the AFC North games. I think they can go 3-3 in the division. That's reasonable. Okay, they got the AFC West. You got Kansas City at home. You got the Chargers at home. I think we could beat the Chargers here. I think we could beat Denver in Denver. I think we could beat the Raiders in Las Vegas. I'm just saying that. We have a good enough team. That's 6 wins. We could even beat Kansas City here. I think we can. But I'm not saying we are. But I'm just saying, I'm just looking at what's winnable. Just winnable. Not making predictions. Okay, if we play Philadelphia and Brazil, okay, that might be winnable. Playing the Giants and the Cowboys here, those are winnable games. Cowboys suck on the road, period. They always have. Then we go to Washington. Washington's terrible. they are. But anything can happen. But I just say it's a winnable game. Those are 3 winnable games. Okay, that's 9 wins. Now we go to Jacksonville. right? We have Miami here, and I think we go to the Saints. Is that correct, Cameron? Is that
Saints on the,
yeah?
you're
I think
throwing me off, but yes, I think so.
yeah, we go to New Orleans. We play at the Superdome. We play the Saints on the road. We have the Dolphins here, and we have an extra. Our odd number games are on the road. We go to Jacksonville because they finished second. So we could beat Jacksonville. We could beat New Orleans. Just with that alone, we have 11 winnable games. Just this is a good enough with this roster before the draft. We got it. And if we get like 80% Nick Chubb after week 6, wow, what would that do? And 100% Deshaun Watson not getting hurt and playing like Deshaun Watson did in the second half of that Baltimore game. That was superstar level stuff. When I found out how hurt he was, he won me over when he did, because he shouldn't have, he had the high ankle sprain and a broken shoulder on his throwing shoulder, and he played through it. So that's just me on my soapbox. People, I'm not playing the schedule. I'm not playing the schedule. No, because you don't understand. I've been to many different cities. I traveled. I'd wear my Browns gear, and people gave me crap for years being a Browns fan and being from Cleveland. Because I was on a radio interview for wrestling, and the guy found out I was from Cleveland. He goes, "Oh, that mistake by the lake," and he thought he was being a smartass. And I just looked at him right in the eye, and I said, "Well, what's the mistake here? Your employment?" And he just was like shocked, and he was like, "Oh, I mean, well, I was the bad guy, I was the villain, so it was easy for me to do that. I was the term heel versus babyface.
You're the heel, yeah.
I was the heel. I was the heel on the show. I was promoting the wrestling show, and I was talking to him, and then he was like, "Okay." He goes, "Well, I was just trying to make a joke." And I said, "If I wanted that, I'd follow you to the men's room and watch you take a leak." He just was like, done. It was just done. That's just. And there was a place you could hear people laughing. I'm ripping on him on his own show. And I asked him, I said, "Tell me something. Have you ever been to Cleveland? Have you honestly ever been to the city?" Most of the time they say no. They've never been there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Then shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. I said, let me tell you something about the Cleveland Browns. They have 8 world championships. They have 18 Hall of Famers. Okay. And they are the only fan base in the history of sports to fight to keep their team and win. Yeah. We sucked for 20 years because of it, because we basically were thrown an expansion team and had to rush to put it together. That's what happened. But we did.
Look at you sticking up with the city.
Of course. Well, I was, I'm from here. I mean, I was born in Parma Hospital 50 years ago, almost 51 years ago. So yeah, I'm an old man, but it's just to that point. Like there was a guy on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show that was from Pittsburgh. He was a Pittsburgh guy before the Monday night game, and he was on their show. And he had on like a Steelers jersey, and he was wearing that construction hat, like the Steeler. And he started saying, "Well, you guys are nothing but our little brothers." And I would have tore into him so quick. I would have been like, "Dude, you look like you're going to audition for the Village People. Are you serious? You're going to come on here and talk smack? You're a grown man. You look like Bob the Builder. Come on." I'm not, and it was just, he wouldn't have known what to say. He would have been like, because a lot of times they poke at people, but they're not used to getting poked back. Being from Cleveland, we're smart asses, and I'm fixed.
That's for sure.
I adopted it so well.
Yes. She's a Browns fan girl on Twitter. You guys, yes. Okay, we're over the hour mark. I don't want to keep Cameron anymore. We got, they said, Dustin Hopkins. Last question. Dustin Hopkins is fine. He had a hamstring injury. He's okay now. He's fine, right?
All good. Yep.
Yeah, he's all good. Yeah,
all good.
The Cade York signing, he's just on the practice squad for now, and that's about it.
The Browns when they cut Cade York, when they traded for Dustin Hopkins and cut Cade York, the Browns wanted to have Cade York back on the practice squad then. Cade York opted to sign with the Titans for a fresh start on their practice squad. He stayed there. The Giants signed him off that practice squad. He got hurt. Now he's a free agent. And so I think enough time has passed that there might have been a little, I can't speak for Cade. I don't know that for sure. But in that moment, if it were me, I do feel like I would feel a certain type of way. That it stings no matter if it makes sense. And if it's a business, he's a human being, he's a person. I don't know this for sure, but I personally know that I would feel, a type of way. And so I never faulted him for taking that fresh start. in Tennessee because I think it made sense for him. But the Browns wanted him back on the practice squad then. And so now they get him back. They want to develop him. They wanted him. They drafted him in the 4th round, right? So they saw what he is capable of.
Yep.
They see something in him. You draft a kicker. No, like you don't draft a kicker unless you are confident in that kicker. And I think they never lost confidence in Cade York. They just knew that whatever he was going through needed some time. He needed to develop. And so you trade for Dustin Hopkins. You hope to have Cade York back on the practice squad. Didn't happen. Now he's there. You can continue to develop him. You've got the depth so that God forbid anything happen. You're not going on the sideline with David Njoku running up to the head coach asking to kick because there's no one else to kick.
On Christmas Eve. Come on, it's Christmas. Let me kick. I remember that. That was great.
So this is a good. I think it's a great move to bring Cade York back, and obviously people feel types of ways, and the fan base has their opinions, and I think it'll go away once the realization sets in that like Dustin Hopkins is the guy for now, and Cade York was is a developmental piece, and maybe that development comes and Cade becomes that kicker we saw week 1 of his rookie year, right? In Carolina. What a moment that was.
Wow.
That was a moment because that was the first time we won an opener in so long.
Mm-hmm.
And
28 years.
That monkey off our back. I think the next step is winning the division, getting that monkey off our back, and then getting to the AFC Championship.
Absolutely.
There's steps to this. We have a good enough team to contend. I'm not going to make predictions of records. I'm not going to make predictions of anything else, but we have a good enough team to contend. And I tell you what, I have an interview set up this Easter weekend. Well, it is for just so you know, this is Passover for Sherry. Is that correct? Oh, come on. She's my Jewish friend. It's a Shabbat tomorrow.
On the spot.
Yeah, but on the spot
night.
well, no.
Friday night.
It is a fact that the Last Supper was a Passover Seder.
It was a Seder.
It was a Seder. Yes, it was. So
true.
It's Good Friday. Thank you for joining us on Good Friday. It's a holiday weekend. It's Easter
Great
weekend.
Friday.
Everybody, we had a lot of people on here. Cam, you drew a crowd. Thank you.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad people want to hear from me.
I tell people this. That it's great. It was great to meet her in person last Saturday, and it was great with Sherry, seeing them in person and seeing the ladies of the Squad Pod in person. It's great that we're all I think we're like we Browns family. I think we're like a family. We do really well, and community. I really think that we have a sense of community amongst Browns fans because like misery loves company. That's a good way to look at it for 20 years. And I remember growing up, I was trying to tell my nephews, and they're in their 20s now, and I'm trying to tell them, yeah, we were a good team at one time. We were expected to win in the 80s. I remember Bernie Kosar's rookie year. I was 12. So it's kind of, you might laugh at that. Yeah. So, but just to be honest, I'm going to talk to Jack Duffin this week, and that's going to air Monday. Guys, look out for it. He is the best guy to follow on Twitter regarding the salary cap. I think he has this theory about how Amari Cooper might be extended. Do you think the same thing might be happening, or is that just
I think there's definitely a possibility. Yeah. I think that Amari Cooper has become a really big part of this offense, a big part of the locker room. And you can look at age, you can look at any of that, and at the end of the day, Amari Cooper was the core offensively, is what kept things afloat. And I think he's very well liked, both on the field and off the field. And so I think there's a very strong possibility. Salary cap guys, experts like Jack who do that, they know, how to break things down and how things would work. I could dig into that a little bit, but right now I think
we're not going to
beyond the numbers and all that. I mean, I think that if you're just looking at productivity on the field and the traits off the field and the fit. So there are some guys that you just keep and you look at it like Nick Chubb, and there's the article, could Nick Chubb be cut? Anybody could be cut on a given day, but there are some guys that you fight extra hard to keep and they're core guys. And I think Amari Cooper is working into one of those roles. I think he's finding himself. I don't know that he's obviously, I don't think he's at Nick Chubb level yet. Of course, Nick Chubb is, there is no replicating what Nick Chubb means to that organization, to that locker room, and to this fan base. There's nothing that matches Nick Chubb. But when you're talking about putting guys in that conversation, I mean, it's Nick Chubb, it's Myles Garrett, and then you got Amari Cooper. He's in the mix. David Njoku has spent this offseason really solidifying himself in this fan base. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I love him. You remember at one time he wanted to be traded? Do you remember that? That
is how these things work. You find it. Things might not go the way that you think they're going to. Yeah. But once you find common ground, once you have figured out your personal situation, I think as a player, right? Because there's a lot of intricacies that go into this. It's not about football. It's about your livelihood. It's about your career and your person. When you ingrain yourself into Cleveland, it shows. And I think that David Njoku has had just such this amazing journey of his on-field stuff. I think that he's really grown in the different roles they asked him to do, whether it's pass catching or blocking. He's taken on every role and he's kind of run away with it. And he still sees room for himself to grow, which is great. But it's the stuff that off the field, it's the way that he has embodied Cleveland culture. Last year was that next step. He stayed level-headed in the locker room when things weren't going well. He was loud to celebrate and really brought the energy when things were going really well. He had fans in the mix. He was out ripping shots in the parking lot after the game.
I remember he had a beer after the Jets game when we clinched.
That's the stuff that makes you Cleveland, and I think that he has really embraced being here, and the city sees that, and the fan base has really embraced him. And it's so fun to see how that just like little things like that can change an entire storyline for a person and a player. It's crazy, and I love that stuff. It's so good. It's good to see him thriving in Cleveland.
Being at that game when we clinched the playoff berth against the Jets, being a fan my whole life, being in the stadium, and we clinched a playoff berth, and the energy that was there.
It was so crazy.
I can't wait for next season to be there in January when we clinch the AFC Championship. How about that? Look at that. Now I'm going on a limb. Okay, guys, we're gonna wrap this up. We're gonna it's a wrestling term called "take it home," which means end the match. So, I'm educating Cameron on wrestling terms. Yeah, we're going to take it home. But before I do that, Sherry, did you have anything to add? I don't want to shut you out.
Okay. Passover's not till April this year. Other Jews. I'm redeemed. Okay.
If your mother came on our show one time and she was giving me the whole Judaism thing, it was great.
If you want to know about the mafia on Long Island,
she'll tell you.
You talk to my mom.
Sounds like she's got some great stories.
It's a long story.
We're Goodfellas. You remember the mafia movie with Ray Liotta and Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro, Goodfellas? Yeah. I was like, God, that movie came out in 1990. I was in high school.
My mom pushed me out of the way. She's like, let me tell you what really happened. The Bamboo Inn did burn down and things did fall off the back of a truck. And that's just how it happened. And we didn't question it. He wished he never asked the question.
Yes, I never heard it.
He's like, you're talking about, wait, let me school him.
Yeah, she just came right in and just started telling. It was great. It was like, oh, wow, nice.
It was Introduction to Jewish Mothers 101.
Yes, it was. Well, yeah, and then and Lana on the Squad Pod is the group's Italian mother. That's what she is. So, and I'm happy to be a half Italian myself. So, hey guys, thank you so much, Cameron. I can't thank you anymore for doing this. It was a pleasure. Learned so much from you. Everybody, please. I mean, you can follow us on Twitter, like the Fanatical Elves Network, like the Burning River Browns Talk. I come on every morning at 8:30 a.m. I will have my interview with Jack Duffin from the weekend airing Monday morning. Guys, have a happy and safe Easter. I wish everybody have a happy and safe Easter. Always remember, when the river burns, it burns brown and orange. I want to get copyrighted.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I did that. Where does Quincy Carrier get his music from? I always liked his. You know? I don't know. I like it. It's different. I got to email. All right.